Oh, I'll take one for my heartaches and two for the road. All the whiskey tears that I've cried for you, well, you'll never know. And the ones I've drank already just won't keep taking. So I'll take one for my heartaches and two for the road. Well, I know it's time to close and the neon's growing dim, but please don't make me go. Can't you see the shape I'm in? She has taught me what it's like to live life from night to night, and this honky tonk's the only place to hide. So I'll take one for my heartaches and two for the road. All the whiskey tears that I've cried for you, you never know. And the ones I've drank already just won't keep taking. So I'll take one for my heartaches and two for the road. Now you ask me why on earth would I want to stay in here while others stagger off and drunkards spill their beer. You could see the blaze that's burning, it's poor old heart so bright. Well, I bet you try to drown it out with whiskey every night. So I'll take one for my heartaches and two for the road. All the whiskey tears that I've cried for you, well, you never know. And the ones I've drank already just won't kill taking. So I'll take one for my heartaches and two for the road. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another Coyote Radio Show and podcast. JP Harris is with us today. Don't mind the noise. We are in Dukes Indy at the Honky Tonk just before the show tonight.
That's right.
The people are coming in, ordering drinks, ordering food. It's great to see at the local Honky Tonk, you know, especially here in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot of this going around. I'm sure you've traveled a lot and seen.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So hats off to Dukes for pulling this off.
Absolutely.
But we're here to talk to you about the good stuff, the music, man.
Right on, man. Yeah, well, it's the first time out for me with a full band on the pavement in almost 5 years now. So,
Really?
Yep, I think I've done a lot of solo stuff, and I've done a couple of little one-off gigs for fun in Nashville here and there, but last time I was out with a whole band was 2019. So it's we've done, you know, we've flown out for a festival here or there, but loading everybody in the van and trailer and hitting the road, this is the first one in a long time. So
Yeah.
it's fun to come back here.
It feels good then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to say, you've played here before. Man, you know, I listen to a lot of music and I tell people, and people always ask me, who should I listen to for this, that, and the other? And I'm like, just depends what you're looking for. And I feel like you have like a huge catalog as far as what you can pull off. Like,
Right on, yeah.
And you got your traditional stuff. You want some claw hammer stuff that
Yep.
you did
Yep,
with Chance.
yep. Some
Which
old
I
time
love.
music. Yep, thanks, man. Yeah.
You paid a lot of homage to some of those classic tunes. I play
Yeah.
a little claw hammer too. So,
Oh, right on. Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was definitely loving that. But then you can turn around and full blown honky tonk set,
Yeah.
pedal steel, the whole deal.
Yeah, well, I've always tried, you know, when I started writing songs, I realized pretty quickly that I didn't, and I very much respect, there are so many country artists who are so good at writing within a specific vein of classic country. You know, there's folks that asleep at the wheel. Those guys are like Western swing stuff. You got people who are like, my homie Whitey Morgan, who does straight up 70s outlaw stuff. There's a lot of folks who have a real, like a specific kind of era style of country
Right.
music they play. And I realized pretty quickly when I started writing songs, 15 some odd years ago, that I couldn't just write in one subgenre of country music. And like you said, I played clawhammer banjo and old time music for a long time before I started writing my own honky tonk country songs, and I sort of worked chronologically backwards towards more the style of what I play with my band now. And then I listened to a lot of old, this is 19th century Appalachian music. And then I got into Carter family and early recording era, Bristol sessions kind of stuff, and the Stoneman family, and then eked my way forward in taste, until I was probably in my late 20s and was like, I guess I do like country from the 70s. I was like, I don't like anything after 1934. And that was my attitude for a bunch of years. I like really, really old, obscure stuff. And
Yeah.
And I think I've kind of come to this place now. I think my last, full-length original record, not the old-time side project, but the last J.P. Harris record was, a good. I keep expanding the bubble of what. It's all country music, but it's a wide definition of, stuff from real rock and rolly kind of country music to real trad weepers and ballads, and it's fun to just continue kind of expanding that bubble that I'm in, that I can
Right.
kind of cover the bases, and I can write a Western swing tune. I can write like just a straight up like 80s rocker kind of country tune, and everything in between. And so it's a good mental exercise, and it keeps it lively for me. And I think it helps more people find something they like in my music, you know?
Right.
And bottom line is I just can't write in one style of country music. So it works practically too.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. I'm sure there's a lot of guys listening that might be jealous because trying to jump around and do all that. But you're
Yeah.
right. It is kind of a niche. I don't know if niche is the right word, but they'll find like these little pockets of what their sound should be like and stay in that lane
Yep.
because it's working.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great that you're not putting any constraints on what your art
Yeah.
abilities are and
Yeah.
what you want to do with music and art.
Yeah. And like I said, I have like the utmost respect for people who go into these different, more like kind of era specific genres of country music and really hone that in, and that's something that I don't maybe have the patience for, or the skill set on the guitar either, but it is fun, and it keeps things new and lively for me, and it allows me to not feel too hemmed in. And after enough years, enough songs I've written and records I've put out and all that, I've come to realize that I don't have to worry about, am I like going to write my way as a songwriter out of the country genre? I mean, I can't write anything but country songs, but it's just a really nice wide net for me. So it leaves me a lot of flexibility that I don't have to kick aside a song idea that I'm like, well, are my fans going to like this? Because does it fit in the genre? And it's like, everyone has always said like, man, you keep expanding that definition, but no matter what you do, it always ends up country when you record it. I'm like, well, that's the idea. That's apparently the only thing I know how to do is write country songs. So
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
So we kind of jumped ahead there a little bit.
Yeah.
I normally like to kick these off with guys that have been on for the first time. Can you give just like a brief kind of cut version of where you're from, how you grew up, like what your influence was, and how you got to be here?
Let's see. It's a really long story, so let me see if I can make it like a minute or less. I was born in Alabama. My family's been in East Alabama for 200-something years. We left when I was a kid, moved around for construction jobs my dad had. And when I was 14 years old, we were living on the West Coast, or out in the West Desert, I guess. And I left home when I was 14 years old. I got into punk rock and train riding and all this stuff. And I finally was like, you know what, I'm done with all this. I finished 8th grade. And about a month later, I was like, I'm out of here. Jumped on a Greyhound bus and went to California for a while and moved all over. Eventually ended up riding freight trains with an old girlfriend of mine up to the Northeast. I'd never been north of Virginia ever in my life. Ended up in Vermont for about 11 years. Totally kind of eschewed music as a thing I was going to pursue. I was like, learned to play clawhammer banjo, was the guy that everyone was like, oh, you're at the campfire, you know all the songs and you're actually a real singer. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. started going to a lot of fiddlers conventions in my late teens, early 20s, and constantly going back to Alabama to visit family, stopping in Virginia, North Carolina, and tying in more with those music scenes. And through that old time world, I found that there was a lot of those people also had not only full-blown professional music careers, which I was like, wow, people get paid to play music, like more than $20 for a square dance,
Yeah.
But then also that a lot of the folks in the old-time music scene, the fiddlers convention scene, were playing a lot of like traditional honky tonk stuff. And you'd find little circles late night at a fiddlers convention where people would be like, we've been playing fiddle tunes for 3 days. Let's play some old Webb Pierce. Let's play some Porter Wagner. Let's, whatever. And that was really fun. And it started opening my mind more to the less old time, more like 40s and 50s and 60s country stuff. I've been living on the side of a north-facing mountain in Vermont on these 16 acres I own that was an acre wide, 16 acres straight up at 25% grade. No power, no running water, hauled everything from a spring.
Damn.
Walked up
this
in the
sounds like a whole other podcast, honestly.
Yeah, I was actually off the grid. No cell phone, no email, all that for about 12 years. And kind of in tandem, a handful of my friends, one of which and I'm going to interview soon, my buddy Pete Bernhard, he left and went to Santa Cruz. We got to be friends when I first moved to Vermont. Well, he went off and started a band called The Devil Makes Three. And before he moved back to Vermont, he was always kind of coming back and we'd play music. And he's like, man, you should really get after this more. I'm like, yeah. And then another friend of mine I lived with for years in Vermont is my buddy Kyle Thomas, who builds under the band King Tough. It's like big, weird indie rock kind of dude. Actually played my first country show ever, the two of us, when we were 19 in a coffee shop in Brattleboro, Vermont, which is the funniest story. People are like, wait, you and that guy played? Hold on, this doesn't make any sense. It's my first country show. So I just got more and more into it. And then I have been working as a historic restoration carpenter and in the logging business in the wintertime. It's about 3 or 4 months a year doing that. And I just kept getting the itch to play music more. And I go to more fiddlers conventions. And then I finally saw my buddy Caleb Plowder, who's from out in Oregon. Killer old time player. He used to be he's still in a band called the Foghorn String Band. It's been around for years.
Yep.
And he has this insanely good country band called the Caleb Plowder String Band, or Caleb Plowder Country Band. And I was on tour with a string band I was in years and years ago. And we played a old time festival in Oregon. And his band played the after party, and I was like, look at all these people dancing, man. And there's like girls everywhere swinging their skirts and guys in cool shirts. And I was like, I want to make people dance like this. Like, screw being in a square dance band. I want to be in a country band. And I went home from that tour, band broke up, and I just started writing songs and eventually played them for another friend I knew through the old time scene, a woman named Rose Sinclair. And Rose, I don't know if she still is, but she played steel for years for Wayne the Train.
Okay.
Amazing straight steel player, lives in Austin. And she heard some of my country songs at a fiddlers convention that I've been writing. I've probably written 3 or 4 songs. And she took me aside and was like, listen, it will be a disservice to the music world if you do not keep writing songs, start a band, and go on tour. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds good. Fast forward a couple of years, I'd started touring a little, ended up moving to Nashville, and then the rest just kind of fell into place. And
so that's where you're at now, Nashville?
Yeah, I've been in Nashville for about 12 years. Still work as a restoration carpenter when I'm not playing music. Got a great scene going there with that. Got my own big shop in my backyard, and tinkering with getting back into building banjos again. And coming out of 2020 and COVID and all that, I sort of took a real big step back for a while. And then I figured, like, all right, I think next year I'm going to start touring a lot, and I wanted to come out and test the waters again, before summer was over this year. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, is eking back into it, So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're back on the road.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And it would be a disservice if you just quit making music.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do that.
Even if you're not going to be on the road, at least write it and give it to the public.
That part I can't stop doing. And the honest truth is, like I said, I work as a carpenter full-time when I'm home. I have my own business, great crew. Everyone in my crew is all in bands also. We have a really cool, specialized historic restoration business that we run that's awesome. I work with excellent guys. It's a very OCD and pragmatic and sort of like proletariat lifestyle. You know, it's like I work my ass off doing hard but very high-end and refined work. And then sometimes I'm like, I just want to eat a gas station hot dog and wake up in a strange place and take it day by day. You know, it balances, the two balance each other out for me. And I think the last many years off the road, mostly off the road, I've been doing shows here and there, fly out stuff, go do something solo. But it reminded me it was a good time to take a break for me for a while. It also reminded me that I don't think I can live a happy life if I'm not on the road at least a good chunk of every year. I need to balance my domestic working man everyday life with just being out on the road and doing my honky tonk thing, you know. So it's good for me, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it keeps me sane. So
yeah, we've covered that, done a lot of different projects, a lot of different music. Is there anything new in the works as far as like you're probably writing all the time, but
I go in fits and spurts with writing. You know, sometimes I could never get like a publishing deal where I had to turn in a certain amount of songs every month or year or what. Sometimes I'll write 3 songs in a month and then I won't write a song for 6 months, and then I'll write a song and then a month will go by and I'll write another song. You know, it's real hit or miss. I can't just sit down and write songs. They just kind of come to me, stream of consciousness, you know. And but I'm happy to say that back this winter, before I did a European tour with my buddy John Miller, doing my old time thing, I did go in the studio, recorded a new batch of original tunes. I'm very, very excited about it. Can't quite let the cat out of the bag about all the details, but it's produced by a really good friend of mine who's an amazing musician, engineer in an amazing studio in Nashville that is also a really good friend of mine's. Had some insane players on it. In the works of seeing how the rest of that plays out right now, you know.
Yeah.
But with any luck, it seems about 99% sure that by the spring of probably by sometime in the winter, people are going to start hearing murmurs about a new album from me. So I've got,
good.
That's working its way down the road to being a real release. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm already kind of got like little goosebumps right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for some.
It's a good
new
one.
music. Is
I'm
always
pretty excited
great.
about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that most artists would feel this way, but as you progress, you hope that you are more and more happy with the records you make and the songs you write. And that's proven true with me. This is definitely my favorite record I've ever made. And, just very, very excited about the production on it, the writing, you know, the whole 9 yards. So I'm antsy to get it out there, but all these things take a little time, you know. So,
Right.
So yeah, there'll be something new in the spring for sure.
Good deal.
Yeah.
You mentioned John R. I love him.
Oh, he's one of the best.
He's been on the show and run into him at festivals every now and then. And great writer.
He's
so
one
good.
of my favorite writers, and he's an old friend of mine. We actually also met through the Old Time Fiddlers Convention world. Met at Clifftop up in outside of Raynell, West Virginia. Hell, I don't know, 15, 18 years ago probably.
Yeah.
He's played bass in my band on the road a bunch before. You know, he's worked on my crew off and on over the years. It's really funny because right before his last record is sort of, it's not really his debut, but what people think is his debut.
Right.
The first one with Rounder, Depreciated. He was working as a brick tender for me, listening to stoner metal in his headphones all day and just cutting the same little angle on bricks on a wet saw for fucking weeks.
Oh my God.
And the client kept coming out. You know, the really cool clients we had. We're doing a bunch of this dry laid brickwork, and John was like, yeah, man, I could use some work. I'll do whatever. And I was like, all right, I need a brick laborer, man. Like, it's really bad work, but like, I'd love to have you do it. And we had a great time working together for about a month and a half on that job. And my client was like, man, it seems like everyone on your crew is in a band. I was like, that guy right there is one of the best songwriters alive right now. And he kind of laughed. He was like, oh, that's probably real Nashville, huh? He's running a wet saw right now. I was like, yeah, man. I mean, he really is. Like, I'm not messing around.
Not playing.
About 2 weeks later, I come into work at this dude's house, and he's like, I saw John on a giant billboard. I was like, yeah, man, I told you. Like, they just announced his record. Like, you know.
Oh,
meanwhile, John's been out there for 2 weeks, just like, hey, man, I'm just listening to Sleep, just running the wet saw, you know. And you know, another guy who's not afraid to put his hands to labor, hard worker. And like absolutely amazing soul as a person, you know. So we had a great time being on tour together this winter, me and him and his partner Chloe, who plays fiddle in his band, also an old friend of mine. She grew up in the old time world. I've known her since she was 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah.
So 3 of us ganged up and went to Europe together and had a killer time.
That's awesome.
Covered some serious ground. Yeah, it was a fun excuse to get in a van together again. So yeah.
We keep jumping back to fiddler conventions.
Yep.
What would you say is like the top 3 that you enjoy the most?
Oh man.
I mean,
Well,
there's a bunch out there.
There's so many of them. Yeah, little ones, big ones. I mean, Clifftop is actually one of my favorites. It's up in in West Virginia there. That really formed a lot of my understanding of life. I mean, I met musicians from all different adjacent genres there, never knowing that they were actually professional tour musicians. My friend Aoife O'Donovan, who's a very, very successful musician, first time I met her, I came into a big dance party in the Red Stick Ramblers Cajun tent they'd set up every year. And she came around a crowd of people we'd never met, and she spit a mouthful of Jameson in my face and then asked me if I wanted to dance. And she and I ended up, hanging out and dancing and partying, getting drunk all night. Fast forward, that was probably 17 or 18 years ago, and I ran into her just a month back at the Newport Folk Fest, and she leaned around a corner, I was hanging out by a backstage thing, and she leans around the corner and she goes, "Hey, JP, we don't get to spit whiskey in your face again." I'm like, I can't believe that we're now here doing
all
this.
these years later.
Chance McCoy and I met there, me and all my buddies from Louisiana that are all amazing musicians. Just met a lot of really cool people through that scene. So Clifftop, I feel like, beautiful setting, up in the woods in a gorgeous campsite. Mount Airy Fiddlers Convention is also one of my hands down favorites because it's just an old school, gritty. It's in the municipal ballpark, it's a fun one, and it's real old school. And there's a real musical lineage from Surrey County, North Carolina. Fred Cockrum, Tommy Jarrell, Kyle Creed, all those guys. Benton Flippin.
I love Kyle Creed.
Yep. Got to sit around and hear Benton Flippin fiddle a bunch and jams. The last handful of years he was alive at that one. Meet a lot of really cool old timers. And I'd say like my other third favorite one probably. Man, it would either have to be the Rockbridge Fiddlers Convention. It was a really small one, up in, I can't remember if it's in Buena Vista, Virginia, or where it technically is. Or there's a little tiny one way the hell up in Greenfield, Massachusetts, way over in Western Mass in the Hill Country, called the Harry Smith Frolic. And it is the most hysterical. They reenact the Smithsonian Harry Smith anthology at midnight on Saturday night of the festival, tune by tune, and people get up and do different versions of the songs. And it's on this beautiful river, beautiful woods to camp in. And it's just a really fun, weird, goofy bunch of players. There's probably 400 or 500 people show up to it.
Yeah.
But
Those
over
are
the
some of
years,
the best little intimate.
we started getting little, gangs of kids from Virginia and North Carolina and Georgia would drive all the way up and come to it, and it was a pretty good one. So that was probably my favorites. Been out of the circuit for a while because now the weekends at the Fiddlers Conventions happen to be the weekends where someone's like, "Hey, I want to pay you to play a music festival." Damn it, So
it's like
I end up trading off a lot.
Work or go have some fun.
Yeah, but there's a pretty good scene of real killer old time players in Nashville, and there's a really good jam going on these days that my buddy Amy Alvey's hosting up at Dee's Country Cocktail Lounge every Sunday night. It's really, it's top notch. Some of the best players, and I feel like there's a lot of
a handful of times.
Yeah, a lot of cool young old time players moved to Nashville last 4 or 5 years. So there's a new blood, really hot shit players. So there's a cool little scene there. Nowadays it's pretty fun.
The reason I asked that is because next year I'm going to have a schedule of where I'm going to run around. In fact, here next month there's so much shit going on. Of course, everything for some reason in my life is going to be on September 23rd. There's 10 million things going on. But one of them that I wanted to go to, but it's not going to happen, is Thomas Mappin Fest.
Thomas Mappin. I know Mappin Fest is. I was bummed out because I assumed it was going to happen, and I don't know what's going on, but it's.
Is it still going on?
I'm not sure because I went and checked out the little website they had, and there's no dates for this year, and I'm trying to figure out.
I thought it was the 23rd. I pulled it up, and it was funny. I was looking through there, and I saw you. I was like, "Oh, you signed up for a competition and won something."
I won a couple. That's the second year I placed. I think I got second place banjo, first place old time band maybe with a couple buddies of mine. So
that's cool.
I still go hit the little regional ones, try and take some ribbons home, and keep my street cred in the old time world going. But it's pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they got it going on.
Yeah, me too. That'd be great.
Because that one's new.
Yeah, and it's a really fun little festival. Really cool.
Well, dude, I really appreciate you being on.
Absolutely.
This is
Thanks for
great.
continuing to spread the good word about music going on.
Yeah, and you know, on our podcast, we always support your stuff, and I'll share it.
Awesome.
Is there anywhere you want to mention that people should follow? You got a website too outside of social media?
It's the easiest thing in the world to remember if you like country music. It's ilovehonkytonk.com. It's literally,
dude.
I bought that website for $20 about 18 years ago, and I was like, no one bought that? That's funny. I'll buy that.
I love honkytonk.com.
Yep. Yeah, and all the normal stuff. Well, really, I mean, Instagram's about the only one I got the patience to use. The other ones are there, but I don't really do anything with them.
Yeah.
So, you know, Instagram's a good way to keep up. Website is always up to date with tour dates and that kind of stuff. And
Good.
I think I'll be laying low mostly. I got a little stuff going on for Americana Fest in September. But mostly going to take the rest of the year to chill and kind of get my ducks in order for probably a big year. I think I'm going to be out on the road a lot next year. So probably back to Europe with the band, probably hitting the whole U.S. a couple times. So I'll be out burning some rubber for a while. So it'll be pretty good.
Great.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Make sure you share this, like, post, comment, you know, all subscribe, you do all that crazy stuff because, you know, I want to spread the word about good music, and you're definitely making it. So.
Absolutely.
Thanks again
for having me,
Yeah.
man. Hell yeah.